All right, welcome back to the Founder-Led Marketing Show. In today's episode, we talked to Justin Rowe, the founder and CMO of Impactable, about all things LinkedIn ads, how to create a organic LinkedIn thought leadership program and use it to fuel your ads. What is the right LinkedIn ads frequency? Should you set up your campaigns? How much budget do you need? How long does it take to generate leads from your LinkedIn ads? All kinds of things. We break down a bunch of his frameworks. Super useful. This was his second appearance, maybe a third one coming soon. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you have any feedback or thoughts, just hit me up on LinkedIn. All right, guys. So I obviously have a bunch of topics prepared for Justin. And I mean, we have one overarching topic here with the LinkedIn flywheel, as I kind of called it, which is basically just the idea of building out an organic thought leadership program for LinkedIn and then using and reusing that content for your ads. But this is live, so feel free if you have questions for Justin or by any chance for me, but that is unlikely, just drop them in the chat and I'll try to kind of incorporate them into the conversation. So we can troubleshoot your own LinkedIn ads if you want to. So anything that you're struggling with, questions you have on all things LinkedIn ads. And I think, Justin, you guys also do some programmatic and Google ads. So any of those topics are also fine. Cool, Justin, just in case, people don't have the context, what's the one or two liner about you, just so we can kind of establish some reason why people might want to pay attention to what you have to say?
Yeah, the very short 15-second is I founded a LinkedIn outreach agency 4 or 5 years ago, scaled to about 210 active clients. The business was acquired by a data-heavy investor. We pivoted to a LinkedIn ads agency. We now have around 200 active clients on as an ad agency with that new focus. I think we're one of the largest LinkedIn ads agencies in North America, as far as just sheer number of accounts that we manage. But I do consider myself more of a broad marketer. I'm CMO here, founder CMO. I still run our marketing, and I consider myself more of a broad marketer, even though I run a LinkedIn ads agency. I absolutely love marketing, and I have a decent understanding of the different channels. But yeah, that's kind of me and Impactable in a nutshell.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah. And I mean, you're my go-to resource when it comes to learning about LinkedIn ads. And I mean, the frameworks that you share, the deep dives that you share, the breakdowns are super valuable. So I think people have seen you around on LinkedIn probably. All right, awesome. So the topic, the LinkedIn flywheel, right? So you guys, I think, started basically from running ads, LinkedIn ads for customers, and then you recently kind of added a content production model on top of that. We kind of went the opposite way, where we did organic content for customers, and we recently added LinkedIn ads on top. So give me your broad perspective on how those two things fit together, right? If I'm a business owner, I'm a CEO, I'm a founder, and my goal is to get customers on LinkedIn, what's the broad way to think about, I do organic here, I post on my profile, and then I have ads here. How do they fit together? How do they integrate? Do you need to start with organic and then run ads? Let's start with broad thoughts first, and then we can kind of dig into the details here.
My thoughts broadly is that LinkedIn organic, or organic in general, is kind of a segment, and paid ads is, another kind of channel. It's just different ways to distribute content, I guess. So I do think content is at the heart of it, which I think, you would agree with. And then organic, there's gives and takes, or, there's positives and negatives of organic distribution and developing that, the time consumption of it, the momentum. There's advantages and disadvantages of using the paid. But my big thing from my broad marketing perspective is that they are not separate. I mean, they are separate, but there's overlap, and there's benefit of building them together or creating content that then gets paid distribution. Or if you have strong, paid channels, thinking of organic as another kind of community owned list that you can nurture long term if they fall outside of your paid. Because ideally, if you're running paid strategies, it's it's X amount of dollars for Y amount of impressions and hopefully, Z amount of leads. But it's like it's a set equation that it doesn't build momentum over time like organic does. So ideally, if you can use both of those to flow in and out of each other or to kind of optimize your overall spend, I think there's a really solid place for both. And I built my initial following and a lot of pipeline with organic, and then I fell in love with paid. But now I really believe in a healthy balance between the two.
Do you have any thoughts on like what's the right sequence depending on where you are at the business? Like start with organic, go to paid, go from paid to organic, start both always in tandem. What does it depend on?
If you have time but lack budget, so if you're a smaller business and ramping up, I feel like organic is an easier lever, like not an easier lever because I'm not going to disrespect the amount of work that goes into organic. But when you have time but lack budget, that is probably a better lever to pull. It does take time investment. It does build momentum. It takes time to get it going. So if you have budget to supplement and you say, okay, it's almost like doing SEO and Google search at the same time. Like, should you do one or the other? They're both pretty powerful and they kind of work better together. So I would kind of say it like that. It's easier to get started, I think, with organic and less expensive. But then amplifying it with paid or leaning more into paid or supplementing as you grow, I think makes sense for a lot of people.
So let's say someone, a business owner, founder, CEO says, this makes sense. I want to start doing stuff on LinkedIn. How do you think about the framework for organic, right? Like how often to post, what types of content to post, how should they think about the kind of topics that they should be talking about, right? If they just want to get started posting on LinkedIn, like
my basic strategy or basic like simplified approach would be, in my experience, like for LinkedIn organic, I guess two big elements. It comes down to building a network is part of it. And so I do think one big thing people miss when they're talking about, okay, getting started with LinkedIn organic, like you can't just post content. Like it almost doesn't matter what your content strategy is. You need to put some effort into building like a following, which means sending probably connection requests to an ICP, not just accepting requests or just building your account of, fluffy profiles that maybe are active, although that has whatever. So I do think in building intentionally your network, I think the second step, honestly, is a good engagement game, probably even more important in the early stages than even figuring out what you're posting, is you do need to put in the work of engaging with others. It's kind of the same idea of building your network. And then when it comes to actual content, I guess, my thought process is don't look to be popular, look to be the expert. And my simplified playbook is give the whole damn playbook away. Like if you could like get what's in your brain and the systems you have, the advice you have, like don't be afraid to give it away and structure your posts in a way that just essentially could tell people how to do exactly what you do, especially if you're in a business service. Because if you do that, then usually one of two things will happen. They'll either have the time but not the money, and they'll steal your playbook and they'll try to implement on their own, which is fine because they're not your ideal ICP if they don't have a budget. Or if they do have a budget and they lack time, they'll see that you have the expertise, they'll latch onto you and they'll gravitate towards you for execution, or they'll try to do it themselves. They'll realize it's more complicated. They'll realize you're an expert and then they'll give you their money. So that is probably a simplified version, but I would say look for ways to position yourself as an expert in your space. And the best way to do that isn't by like fancy psychological tricks. It's sharing the actual information and insights you have that will help people better see you for who you are, hopefully an expert in your space.
Yeah, I'm going to add some flesh to it. I think what I usually tell people is aim to post daily. I think it just takes the thinking out of the equation. Like if you're trying to do like 1 or 2 posts a week, it suddenly like you don't get into the flow. You want to get into the flow, it should just do it daily. And then text post is probably the easiest to start with, and then mix in some videos and images like as you go along. And then when it comes into topics, I really think about it mainly in 2 broad areas. The first one is product, and then the second one is subject matter expertise or thought leadership, you can call it. So product is more like general, like what you do, how it works, what your service is, what your pricing is, how you're different from competitors or alternatives, how your onboarding works, right? Kind of all the questions that happen during the sales process. You want to front load them and handle objections before they come. And then thought leadership and subject matter expertise is basically being a consultant, right? Like answering the questions and problems and pain points that your ideal customers deal with, not from a like, how can I pitch my service or product, but just trying to give them as much value as possible, right? And you want to try to go as broad as you can be, where you can still add value, right? So like you guys run LinkedIn ads, so you know a lot of stuff about LinkedIn ads, so you should be talking about LinkedIn ads and how to set them up and the right campaign structure and how to optimize budget and all of these things, right? But then where does it fit into the broader perspective? Well, people want to do marketing, they want to generate demand. So whatever else you can talk about that it's around demand gen and marketing, you should be talking about that too, even if that's not necessarily exactly what you sell, because that will still reach a wider audience, position you as a thought leader, and then it becomes a no-brainer to work with you once it becomes a matter of running LinkedIn ads or Google ads or whatever the thing is.
I think that's an approach. When you're fleshing out those topics, I do. So for my specifically, I think I post majority of the time on specifically LinkedIn ads, and I almost think of it as like when people say creating demand. Like I think there's a lot of nuances for that, because I think you can create demand for like a type of service or a channel like LinkedIn ads. You can also create demand for your specific style or strategy or take on LinkedIn ads, and for your particular company. So I post on about LinkedIn ads. I do also, because I enjoy B2B marketing in general, I make posts that are about either startup marketing or B2B marketing. I'm really passionate about marketing plans for like startups, especially like most of the frameworks that are out there are built for like more mature B2B companies. And it's like not enough people have practical frameworks for smaller companies. So I like to post about that. But I guess in a sense, I'm still hitting on like my core ICP, but not necessarily. And I'm positioning us as like, or myself as a marketing expert, but not necessarily always about LinkedIn ads. Although that is like my primary focus with most of my posts. But I would agree with your breakdown.
So let's say we now started posting organically on our profile. We have content out there. Some of it did well, some of it not so much. We have some text posts, image posts, maybe some videos out there. How do you translate that then into ads? Like, do we put everything into a broad campaign? Do we pick certain ones? What's the criteria by which we pick posts? Do we just reuse the whole thing or create a version of it that's more optimized for ads? Like, how do you think of the framework from the flow from organic to paid?
So the evolution that I took was for a while, my two were like completely separate. I had my organic strategy and I would make like these certain type of posts. And then I had my LinkedIn paid ads, and a lot of them were more commercially, looked more like ads. And then I started to blend the two. And initially, like before Thought Leader ads came out, my approach was to actually like screenshot my organic post, and I was using that as an image for LinkedIn ads. And then, they came out with this new method. So what worked for us, and there's different approaches, I guess, depending on when you adopt it. But if you start with organic and you have a healthy kind of library of assets, there's data in there. What I would go through is not necessarily, and I guess while you're posting this, you can keep in mind, like, it's not necessarily what's more popular, what gets more likes, comments, and engagement. I think like people who have been posting long enough, and if you do it the right way, you should get inbound leads. And usually you can tie them to specific posts, where like I specifically, after however many years of posting, I have probably 15 or 20 posts where I can literally copy them and paste them and repost them. And that was part of my strategy is, come up with, new unique posts, but also recycle some of the best hits on a monthly basis, because I have, a series of posts. Every single time I repost it, it's guaranteed to be like, a top performer that month. And it's guaranteed to bring in inbound leads because it hits the right ACP. It talks about the right stuff, and it seems to create the right amount of expertise. So I would say if you have that data, then those are the type of content that you can then go over to paid ads and essentially do two things. you could make it an evergreen asset, because the biggest challenge of organic is that, you essentially have to keep repurposing, which I mean is a great organic hack. But then on the paid ad side, you can literally just make it evergreen and be like, okay, if they visit my website and then they leave over the next 90 days, I want them to see these 10 like posts that are my greatest hits that I know bring inbound. And that is really powerful. So you can guarantee distribution, and then you can actually guarantee, unlike organic where you're growing your network and you try to grow it, it is still a hodgepodge of like who's getting exposed to your stuff. On the paid side, you can qualify who sees it and get a narrow down into ICP and guarantee distribution. And that's the way I like to think about it. If someone, yes, you can do it on the cold layer as well. And the same idea, like let me get these posts in front of my ideal ICP and let me guarantee that it's qualified people. But I'd really like thinking about in the retargeting layer, if they visit my website or company page, I want to guarantee they see my top 5 or 10 best posts, and that becomes an evergreen asset that can live in your retargeting, and everyone gets exposed to those 10 posts like after they visit your website, which would be a really good plan.
I know we didn't plan this, but I think this would be super valuable. Would it be relatively straightforward for you to maybe share 1 or 2 of those organic posts that you say, just always bring in leads, and maybe we can do like a mini breakdown, because I think that would be super valuable for people.
Okay, so you can see my LinkedIn ad account. Let me make it a little bigger for you guys. So I have thought leader ads, but it's the same ads. I have them in the cold layer and in the retargeting layer. So let me share what I have in retargeting first. So I have 30-day, I have a couple of different, these are thought leader ads. I think these are my image ones. And then I have thought leader video ads, which are doing pretty good too. And I'm talking about LinkedIn in most of mine. So they get rejected a lot. So let me show a couple ones. Okay. So here's one that was, this one was one of the original ones that I was actually just showing a screenshot of originally, as a post. And then now I just have the original one. Where it shows a screenshot, and it basically shows a screenshot of, and actually this math is wrong and someone pointed out, and I haven't changed it yet, but it still does really good.
Still performs.
And even better, like if you make an ad that has, I think someone said like one of the
typos.
Tricks
I saw that post.
Yeah, typos.
LinkedIn
I thought that was hilarious.
I think it was Dave Garrott.
And I'm like,
best LinkedIn growth hack, have typos.
So honestly, I put 6x, it's like 3x ROI, and I'm like, dang it. So this was one where I just showed like the actual ad account. I showed, a breakdown of how we can see the different conversion tracking, which most people don't really have set up. How we have conversion values, which most people don't have set up. And then the post had a decent, it's a long form text post that breaks down, like goes into
so what's the hook?
My
Show me the hook
process. 129,000 initial purchase value from 43K spent. Here's my top 3 tips. And then it goes into frequency. So there's one.
So it's a case study, basically. It's a result that's validated. You have proof for it. It's numerical. So it's not like a random, like, we like 3x the customer. And then you're breaking down exactly how you did it. So it's kind of what you said with sharing the playbook.
And this one is the actual 6-month playbook. This is LinkedIn Ads Master Framework, 6-month build step by step. And then it goes in, the image is this. And then the interesting thing is, so on organic posts, you would never typically put like links in your posts, but after you turn these into like sponsored, like now you don't have to follow organic rules. So if you want, you can go back, edit these, add links into them if you want, add stuff into the comments and sponsor them. Now, you don't really care if it's limiting your organic reach. You're getting guaranteed distribution to your people, so you can do whatever you want with the post. But this one, more of a, this is literally our 6-month framework that we steer a lot of our clients into. Steal our playbook. Here's the links. This is part of give the playbook away, and it's a framework, a strategy. So typically in today's world, this would have been a lead gen white paper that people would have to leave their email for. I'm giving them the asset, just nothing between. This is another one that does really good. And this, if I was smart, I would segment this out and show this to maybe like company sizes, 1 to 10, 11 to 50, and this is a strategy that's geared more towards small companies. What if you only had $500, $1,000 a month on LinkedIn ads? Most experts would say don't bother. And then it goes into my breakdown of how I would use LinkedIn. And this is just text only. I would use LinkedIn for retargeting only. If you have like website traffic, you can use it to qualify, go into the, how beneficial that is.
So let's quickly stay on here because I want to point out two little things. Can you go back to that post or pick another one if you want to?
Oops. Here's a really good one. An audit that we did, almost, so I guess case study, LinkedIn ads audit. Actually, usually the hook that's been working on these is, just audited a B2B brand spending $30K a month. That's, I guess, looking at this one, this hook isn't as great as some of the other ones, but all the rest is the same. So yeah, and this is text only again.
So a couple of things. Number one, all of them, well, you have video ads. Okay, so we're looking only at text ones. All of them are pretty extensive. All of them basically share a full breakdown, right? You're sharing a full breakdown of how you got the results. You're sharing the full breakdown of your process. You're sharing the full breakdown of the exact checklist that you guys use. So it's very in depth. I think a couple things to point out to people here: when you make that transition of taking an organic post and making it an ad, especially if you use thought leadership ads, I think right now for the hook, so the couple of lines that show when people scroll on the feed, I think for regular text posts, it's 5 lines on desktop and 3 lines on mobile for a regular organic post. For ads, it's shortened to 2 lines. So it only shows the first 2 lines in the hook. So you do need to edit your hooks a little bit. Oftentimes for text, the classic one is 1 line, then an empty line, and then another line, right? For ads, you basically want to switch that and you just delete the second line. I don't know if this makes sense to people, but you kind of did that in the last post that you shared where you basically deleted that second line so people can see the full hook. And then kind of the ads that you said, the links that you said, right? You don't want to include links in your organic posts, but then once they kind of went through the life cycle of organic traction and you then put them in your campaign, there's no downside to including links in your post. You can just edit them. So that's super interesting.
I was gonna say the interesting thing is like, some people wonder like, how does conversions work? Like, because you're not even sending them to a website. And so a couple of things I would say about these thought leader ads is the one thing, watch your backend traffic, Google Analytics, whatever. Like a lot of this traffic to your website will start looking like organic search, like you just started spiking in organic, but it's because these posts are driving traffic. They're either leaving LinkedIn and searching for your company by name now, or they're clicking into your LinkedIn company page and then clicking into your website, or they're clicking on the, I think you saw, I have it's not going to show on this one. This is another, I have the visit my website, that custom link. Oh, I'm testing view my portfolio. I wasn't sure if that was a softer, more curious one than visit my website, because it's almost like, what does he have going on? And mine's, I used whatever it's called, Linktree. So I have the website, I have like our Gumroad, I have like other stuff going on there. And I honestly, you might like this. I actually tested putting a Gumroad link as the final destination URL for ads. Like instead of sending them just to our website, send them to like, you decide where you want to go. You want to go to our YouTube channel, book a call, view more resources, and that actually had pretty decent traction. But you can still see so even though they're not LinkedIn can still see if they interacted with the ad or viewed the ad, got a placement, and then ended up on a conversion page, like a thank you page. So we're still able to see and track conversions from these, even though, they're not going to be the traditional method. Like sometimes you might get more view conversions.
Wait, those conversions that are tracked, those are based on people clicking the link in the copy?
Let me look. Well, according to these, what it's counting as a conversion, or what's counting as a click is like any interaction. So if they click view more and then they convert, I think it would show as a click conversion. But let's see.
The click is when they click on read more? We don't know.
Well, with text or with these influencer ads, almost any interaction constitutes a click. Yeah. So any interaction with it, which is also why people are talking about how amazing the cost per click of these are, which is a little misrepresentative because it's counting almost everything as a click. So I wouldn't necessarily be singing its praise just for that. But yeah, so yeah, it is counting those as click conversions. Now, if they was just placed, they never interacted with it at all, and then they converted, it would be a view conversion. But yeah, if they're not actually at least interacting with it or clicking read more, and then they convert, like, yeah, I wouldn't imagine that'd be as powerful as they, yeah, at least interacted with the ad to some degree.
Makes sense. So let me ask you this. So, we talked about building an organic framework, posting daily on LinkedIn, sharing your expertise, sharing the playbook, then looking at which posts actually generate leads for you, like which ones generate traction that people reach out to you and say, hey, can we hop on a call, that sort of stuff. And then those are the ones that you want to put into either just your retargeting layer to make sure that the people who visited your website see your top 10 posts, or even put it in the cold layer and distribute it to ICPs. Now, from you having done this, do you have some kind of framework in your head of what is a post that will generate leads for me? Like, what are the ingredients? What do I talk about? What's the topic? How do I structure it? What do I share? Some of it is unpredictable, but maybe you, from having now generated a bunch of these posts, is there anything that you see as like the common denominators between what they have in common?
Yeah, and I would say one of the things, and we can share this framework as well. But the 6-month framework that we kind of, a lot of people think we're famous for, is I do construct this idea of this loose idea of what kind of content might be a better fit for different parts of the funnel. And one of my theories for LinkedIn ads that might be different than other people is that in this cold layer, like as a first initial touch, I honestly don't like to, I think that layer deserves the type of content that's maybe a little more straightforward. My main thought process is I don't like over diluted retargeting audiences. So I wouldn't necessarily want to lead with something that's like ambiguous or clever or funny, or something that's not like, if someone's clicking on ads for my cold layer, I kind of want that to mean something. So I usually push for more straightforward. I'm actually okay with more like promotional, commercially ads on the cold layer that are a little more dry or boring or straightforward. Like, this is what we do, and this is what we offer, and this is who we serve. If you interact with that ad, then, I'm probably not wasting my money putting you in retargeting. Now, when I get into retargeting, I like all the other things. So I really do focus on what a good first touch would be, but then I'm a little looser with what I put in retargeting. And then my basic idea of like what actually converts people is, in the B2B world, I'm convinced like way too many people try to mimic B2C in the fact that they're like, okay, we're just going to retarget and then we're going to stay in front of them. And if we retarget them enough, we're going to convert. But in B2B, like, it's not like timing isn't the number one objection you have to overcome. And it's not just persistency, it's trust. How do you overcome? Like, they don't know you, they don't trust you. How are you going to overcome with that? And you can't just retarget them with your logo to fix that. Like, yes, frequency can build brand awareness and brand trust, but I think that the content of your retargeting ads or that layer should seek to overcome that more than anything. So I kind of have these different categories where I say, okay, case studies, I think in my experience, make for great content. It's just like, this is what, I just did an audit. This is what I learned. We just helped a client do this. This is exactly how we did it. Amazing content makes for highly converting ads as well. Testimonials, if done right, the same thing. Like, but it's not just like Sue from Fifth Third said she loves Impactable. It should be like, it should have some meat to it. Like, Sue from Fifth Third said she had this specific problem and we helped them because we did this differently than the other agencies. Ideally, it would have something like that. Press releases, I'm a big fan of third-party validation. I think that makes for amazing ads. I can make an ad and I can come on and say, hey, Impactable's a great LinkedIn ads agency and you should hire us. But if I put an ad or I sponsor like a press release that shows that we got acquired, or that we just signed some big logo, or that, LinkedIn itself did a case study of one of our clients and highlighted us, and we can elevate that and put it in front of our ICP, let someone else tell you that we're an expert. That does amazing. And then to your point, the thought leadership, I do think that is a huge area where if you can just go deep on your niche and explain something, sure, you're going to alienate probably 80% of the people out there who are just dabbling. But those people who are interested in your niche, who want to take the time to invest and digest what you're saying, they're going to really cement, if you do it right, they're going to cement in their minds that, dang, you are the experts in this space. You're light years above me. If and when I do have a need for this, I'm going to save myself the time and just hire you. Because one of the things I think thought leadership content does is it cements the skill gap between where people are and where they want to be. And a lot of people still don't understand how complex different channels are or content in general. And they think, hey, I could do this. I'm just going to post every day, show up, give value. I'm going to run retarget with them ads. But if they actually read someone who's an expert and the thought that goes into content structure and pillars and timing and engagement, they're like, dang, there's no way I want to do this myself. But they don't realize that skill gap unless you go into detail explaining all the thought you've put into your strategy, and they realize they're nowhere near that level that they thought they were. And that moves the needle, I think, a lot.
Yeah. So William said this flow chart is really helpful. Thank you. I think it's on your profile, right? When people go to your profile, they'll probably find that flow chart.
Yes, I think if they go to my profile and they go to documents, I have the 6-month framework. I also have a LinkedIn framework by budget. So if you have $500 to $1,000, $1,000 to $2,500, $5,000 to $10,000, I put together some different LinkedIn ad structures that might make sense for different. And
then we also have a question from Joseph. We'll go into that, but just wanted to quickly stay on that framework. So you said for the cold layer, that initial first touch, you really like a straightforward type of thing. What does that mean? Is that just an image ad with here's the value prop, or what do you mean with that?
Yeah, for that. So I think for us, it's a couple different things. So one of the ones that we would run we would run an ad that said Impactable, B2B LinkedIn ads agency. And the copy was, or the hook and the intro copy was just talking about LinkedIn ads in general, or LinkedIn ads enhancing the ROI of marketing ecosystem. So it was really specific to the value of LinkedIn ads in B2B and really putting front and center that we are a B2B LinkedIn ads agency.
And that's an image?
So yeah, and I think it was just our logo and LinkedIn ads agency, and then the whatever. I do have running now thought leader ads around this, and I tried to pick. So from that side, I tried to pick content that there's a lot of my content that I wouldn't want it to be your first post of mine to view. There's a lot of them where I do a very basic breakdown of LinkedIn ads, or I attach to one of the core things like LinkedIn retargeting, and I would make a very basic post about power of LinkedIn retargeting. And I really hammer that. I wouldn't put a post about frequency as my cold layer. I put frequency and expertise that's deeper, but I would do LinkedIn retargeting. I would do just the basic need of LinkedIn ads in an ecosystem. Maybe overcoming one of the top objections, are LinkedIn ads too expensive? The only people who should be really curious to read that would be people that are considering LinkedIn ads. That wouldn't be really, helpful to a lot of people. So I try to really curate the topic to something that it's almost like Google search. I want the interaction to actually show intent, and I don't care that it's the most popular topic. I want the people that are interested in this to kind of let me know that they're in the game already. If you're looking for basic LinkedIn ad optimizations or basic LinkedIn ad mistakes to avoid, I think some of that stuff can be really good cold layer with, and it's clear, we're a LinkedIn ads agency who just did an audit, and here's, I guess that's kind of case study, but it would be very basic, and it'd be a really good first post for someone to read of mine. And then there's getting into the weeds on frequency, getting into the weeds on ad scheduling, getting into the weeds on different stuff. I would put that in retargeting.
So, but it almost sounds like, right, when we think about Chris Walker's creating versus capturing demand, right? This LinkedIn ads agency, that's focused on capturing demand, right? You're only going to catch people who already decided that LinkedIn ads might be something that they want to do. How do you think about creating new demand for people who are maybe just is that a purpose of ads, right? Let's say I'm a business owner and my business is just kind of struggling. I'm just not growing as fast as I want to be growing, but I have never heard of LinkedIn ads. Should I think about my ads being the vehicle to get people from wait a second, LinkedIn ads is a possible solution, or is that the organic stuff and then the ads just capture people who are already looking to do LinkedIn ads? They just don't know how or with whom, or.
I think it's a really good question. And I think takes a little bit to unpack it because it's going to be it depends. So for us, for example, in simple terms, we're a LinkedIn ads agency, and you're right. If there's a whole group of people out there that have never heard of LinkedIn ads, that it's not on their radar, and yes, if the goal of my LinkedIn cold campaign was to get on those people's radar, that I think I would design those slightly differently. I look at our market, and everyone would, each business would have to look at their own market, because the capture versus create. The idea though that I latch onto is, in a lot of small businesses, the first thing they should worry about is capturing what's out there. In fact, there's usually enough demand that currently exists that you're better off trying to capture demand and wedge some of that in your direction versus completely starting from scratch, assuming no demand exists, and starting your efforts building demand and ignoring the demand that already exists. So I do think, for the most part for us, there's enough B2B companies that LinkedIn ads is on their radar, but they've written it off for some whatever. So I wouldn't necessarily start with that. Unless I thought that group was not big enough to, be working. I also think, depending on what you have in your marketing ecosystem, that balance might be different. So we do use Google search, and we do have a mix of exact, and I think we have different levels of intent and awareness coming from that source. We also have different levels of intent and awareness coming from my personal LinkedIn organic, and they visit our company page or they visit our website. And so I think that's a mix. So I do think with my LinkedIn cold, because I'm making an assumption that I do have enough levels of awareness and intent in my ecosystem that I'm going to use LinkedIn cold to supplement my overall traffic, to add a steady stream of quality traffic to my website that eventually will get converted. And I choose to kind of focus on people that it should at least be on their radar, because I think that group is big enough for me to focus on. If I didn't believe that, then yeah, I probably would adjust that, and I would leverage that a little differently.
Quick question here by Joseph. Can people see that it is an ad boosted post? I don't see any label or mention.
So yeah, you just saw thought leader video ad or thought leader ads, and it wasn't glaringly obvious that it was an ad. So look up here. This all looks the same down to this. The only additional thing is this promoted by Impactable, and then it actually has the link there. That's the only addition they put on there. There's nothing else. There's no CTA button down here or headline or anything else that would make it look like an ad. It's just this little promoted by Impactable. So it's pretty sneaky. I imagine that 80% of the people who see these thought leader ads don't know that it's an ad, that just think that they're organically getting this content surfaced to them that happens to be relevant to them, just making it, I think, a little better, that it's not that easy to detect.
By the way, is that a little optimization on changing your company name from just Impactable to Impactable B2B ads agency? Is this exactly because of these ads where they're going to pop up?
Yes, I mean, and I don't know the effect of it. This is just one of the many things that, pops into my head that I think I want to try. But yeah, I was aware that when I started running these ads that I had that extra space. I even, if you see, this right here, this LinkedIn ads agency, that's my personal pronouns, section from your profile that I don't know if that's,
you identify as
I don't know if that's, if
that's
people are going to think
incorrect for sure.
If I'm going to get canceled for that, or if this was a real thing that people are offended that I use that space for something other than, him, his, but I use that for that. I also was trying to think of, I wanted, our Impactable page to show up in search results for certain things. So if I could work LinkedIn ads into it, or B2B LinkedIn ads agency, coming from an SEO or Google search approach, I wanted our name to be a little more searchable about those. So good idea, bad idea. I think it's working for us, but it's hard to tell.
Question. Obviously, you guys are managing lots of customers, lots of ad accounts. Anything recently that you guys found, some new trends, some new objectives, some new hacks, some new creative, I don't know, something that you feel like you're having fun with right now?
I do think thought leader ads, they are still pretty new. And thought leader video ads, so the extra thing I would say about that is, test them. And you don't have to have an organic treasure trove and history before you start this. In fact, if you are a CEO or, if you're a company and you have budget and that's something you want to start, like honestly starting your organic presence with the paid boost of an ad account to your target ICP, like what better way to grow your personal profile? Because the main thing that also happens is I'm getting profile views and connection requests from like a dialed in ICP. So instead of manually sending out connection requests to my ICP, because I'm posting boosting my personal post to my ideal ICP, I'm actually getting inbound requests and DMs and profile views from that, which is helping that. So I do think like don't sleep on these thought leader ads. I don't like sure maybe the honeymoon phase of them being like as wildly successful might die down, but I don't think it's going to be a bad mix a year from now, 2 years from now. And I think if you just take the exact same thing you're running from your company, like for a company ad, and you try to put that like image and copy from your founder, CEO, CMO, and boost it, like without even adapting anything to the personal, which obviously that would help, I'm guessing like you'll find that the thought leader ad will outperform that company one. So just add it to the mix. I don't think it's a good 100% approach, but I do think thought leader ads are one of those things that people should try, especially thought leader video ads. I think are really good because then you can retarget based on video percentage watched, and you could retarget those that are just highly engaged, 75% or more, pull them into like a different funnel or show them like the next series. So I think those two are really good.
If I have a video that I posted organically, and then I put that in a thought leadership ad, does it automatically recognize the 50% video watches from the previous organic engagement?
I don't think so. I think it's only going to see paid interactions and be able to retarget based on the paid video views, as far as I know.
So if a company doesn't want to start with this organic stuff and spend 3 months posting the organic to test some creatives and then put into the ads, but they just want to get started with ads and produce some ads, are there some pillar pieces of ads? Right, like what are the first 10 creatives or the first 5 creatives that every B2B company should be creating to test in their campaigns?
I guess that would be also, it depends based on their assets. And so I would kind of look at the framework. I would look at the categories, and every company might have different things that they're especially proud of or that they have more that they could lean into. I do think case studies are, case studies, real examples, audits, like things that show actual experience. I think that should be part of everyone's. I do think testimonials still have a place. I think, there's a whole range of like doing the bare basics and, was that good or not, and doing testimonials really well. There's a whole whatever, but I think that should be probably part of, people really do like seeing those. It really does help confirm. And then I do think, there has to be like some kind of thought leadership element that is really worked into there. I really like the idea of humanizing brands and like having personal brands within companies and letting them shine through. So I do think like the other part of the thought leadership movement that I really like is that I feel like it's humanizing brands. And if you could have that mix where you are surfacing experts from inside your organization and giving them the spotlight, whether it is your CEO, your CTO, your CMO, whoever it is, like I think that should definitely have a place. And then, every company usually knows, like for me, they have assets that are people would pay for. And I think finding a way to ensure deliverability to your ICP after they leave your website of your key assets that you're most proud of that should move the needle. I definitely think that should be a part of everyone's ecosystem. And then, not that everyone has this, but one thing I'm really big on is if you have any kind of communities. So say you have a newsletter, say you have a Facebook group, say you have a YouTube channel. I really, really strongly believe that in your 90-day retargeting layer, you should make a concerted effort to use paid ads to funnel people into organic communities so that if they drop out of your paid ads ecosystem, you still have them somewhere in an organic community to nurture and convert maybe long-term without all the expensive spend. So I think it's worth using paid ads to funnel people into organic communities, which naturally happens with LinkedIn thought leader ads. Like people are following you personally, not just the company page, following your content. But I make a concerted effort to push my YouTube channel and my retargeting layer, push the newsletter in the retargeting layer. Like the only lead gen form I use currently in our LinkedIn ads is I have a lead gen form that's just newsletter signups. And I put that in front of our retargeting audience and try to get them into our newsletter, our YouTube channel, my personal LinkedIn profile. And if I'm running any events, I use the retargeting layer to promote that. And then to I have one campaign that just shows interviews that I've been a guest on, and it just it's like a playlist of those, and I retarget our website visitors with those, like just in my mind positioning us as trusted experts in the space. And it's more of, hey, these are other people that view us as experts. It's not me telling you, here's, whatever 5-10 guest spots that I had the video assets for. Those are running and retargeting. And sometimes they're not even leading to my YouTube channel. Someone else owns the video, and I'm not afraid for the final destination to be someone else's YouTube channel because I just care that they're consuming the video.
How do you think about if you're running ads for an expensive B2B solution, right? High ticket, high ACVs. Like at what point do I decide that it's not working? So I can give you an example. We're running ads right now for a B2B software company. We've been running ads for a little over a month. We spend roughly $1,500, 0 demo requests. They sell a $70K solution. So, B2B high ticket. They're creating a new category. They're relatively early in the journey. It's not quite clear whether they have product market fit. They're at around $1 million in revenue. So I'm like, at what point do I decide that this is not working? I've spent $1,500. I've gotten 0 demo requests. Do I go until 5K? Do I, how do you think about this problem?
So I guess the first, that's really good information. I guess one of the first questions I'd ask is this 1,500 and what's the other marketing investments? Is there a paid search budget? Is LinkedIn the first and primary lever they're pulling?
This is only LinkedIn ads. This is purely LinkedIn ads, 1,500.
So it will take a longer ramp. So I have 3 main scenarios. Like one of the main questions I always get is, how long does it take to get results from LinkedIn ads? And instead of just saying it depends, I thought it might be helpful to put it into 3 main scenarios. The first, the biggest chance of success and the quickest path to success is you have 2 to 3 other paid channels. You have healthy quality traffic hitting your website. LinkedIn ads is not required to do all the work to find the prospects, nurture them, and then convert them. You could have more of a retarget. You could have $1,500 budget, could just be retargeting, could just be converting the traffic you already have. The middle scenario is you have, maybe one pillar paid marketing channel. You've invested in some organic. You have an okay marketing mix and website traffic. You need LinkedIn to provide some extra quality cold traffic, and then you can use a little bit of the budget to convert what else is out there. And so it's a really still, within 90 days path to probably ROI of LinkedIn ads. Now in the last scenario, which sounds like maybe, this one's more in that, there's not a really healthy marketing ecosystem or, mature traffic that has the different levels of intent. You're really relying on LinkedIn. And the problem with, LinkedIn as a primary initial traffic source is that it's not like paid search where you can step in front of someone looking for a LinkedIn ads agency. On LinkedIn, you're getting in front of people that there's no intent signal yet. They likely have a need because the industry they work in, company size, you can qualify them based, that they should have budget, but there's not any indicator, which means that's a lot longer probably road to conversion than even if you had, a Google search click come in and then you're retargeting them for 90 days. At least you have implied intent from Google search. And then you might assume that they could be like bottom of the funnel and converting more quickly. So I think take into account that you're getting in front of people that didn't ask for it, haven't shown any interest in it yet. They likely have a need. It's going to be a much longer path. So I usually say in that scenario, I wouldn't expect anywhere near a break even in the first 90 days, but within 90 days, I would say give it a little more time. Within 90 days, you should have some inkling that you're headed in the right direction or not. And usually I would set up some additional things at leading indicators. So instead of, if we're tracking the demos, I would say, okay, is the demo page a separate page? Track that as a conversion, give it a $1 value. Pricing page. I realize now you could get fancy with Google Tag Manager and analytics to set up like even page depth scroll and time spent on page and set up those as LinkedIn ads conversions. No, we haven't rolled that out to all of our clients yet. It's more of a like I know that's possible. We have it for a couple of clients, but so I would look for more leading indicators, because one of the things, like if you could show that client, like it shouldn't be a binary, we're getting leads or we're not getting leads. If you can show that client progress, and one of the things I might look at is, okay, LinkedIn Insights tag picks up on the website traffic and gives me a breakdown of the demographic. If I can prove that we're getting an increased amount of traffic that fits your ICP criteria, that there's more of these intent clicks and signals that we're building in the right direction, then you can make a really good case for continued investment, even without seeing like those hard ROI numbers. But that's what I would look for.
So just one last follow-up on that. So you said 90 days, we want to see some indicators. What are we talking about in terms of budget for those 3 months?
I mean, 1,500, I think is reasonable to at least see. I wouldn't look for break. Yeah, I wouldn't look for break even in 90 days. But like if I had some movement, I mean, ideally we'd be booking, at least maybe a demo in 90 days. It would be a upside down ROI, but there should be an indicator that we're like moving in the right direction. And for me, because if you're telling me that this client is selling like a 75K, like, LTV or whatever, like theoretically they could run for like an entire year. And if they had something that would then close in the next 3 to 6 months, like they'd be good at that level of spend. So, I mean, I would look at it in those timeframes, like in 90 days, you shouldn't be looking for like anything other than probably that we're headed in the right direction, that maybe we at least get one demo that we think LinkedIn ads, or a couple demos that we think LinkedIn ads contributed to. But in the 30 and 60 days leading up to that, leading indicators of key page views or things moving in the right direction that shows momentum would be good.
Joseph asked, should I use LinkedIn ads for founder-led brand CEO content marketing to boost impressions and engagement? We are a B2B SaaS company. Honestly, this is my first time hearing about LinkedIn ads. Thanks for sharing the insights. Should I use LinkedIn ads for founder-led brand CEO content marketing to boost impressions and engagement?
If one of the main things is, it almost sounds like you're asking if we can use the paid ads to boost the engagement, and you're thinking more of the metrics of, okay, I want to, make my personal post perform better, get more likes, shares, comments. Yes, I do think that is a good use of it. I would say that isn't my top focus as far as getting more of that social proof. The idea that you should be using the paid ads for is to guarantee delivery of those posts to your ICP. And I wouldn't put engagement as like one of the top metrics I'm after, although it should be kind of like key page views, a leading indicator. But yeah, I don't think that's a bad way to think about it. But just set your focus on, ideally, success isn't like your most popular post. It's, am I amplifying something that actually creates inbound like requests, conversations that could lead to meaningful business?
I guess I would actually disagree, because I feel like the LinkedIn algorithm got pretty good. So even if you're starting out with pretty few connections and followers, if you post something useful, it will actually get traction. And so if you get 0 traction, you get like 2 likes, it just means that it's probably just not valuable to people. And so you can push budget out and distribute it to your ICPs. But I feel like it would be pretty inefficient to spend money getting a bunch of likes on that, because the algorithm already told you that it's not really hitting that spot, I
agree with that. I respect your opinion there, that it's not that they're all vanity metrics and they don't matter. Obviously, conversions will matter more, but those engagements should, be a leading indicator that you're heading in the right direction. Unless you're purposely just putting a funny meme out there or something that is like going to be popular. But I mean, if you look at it with a brain, you're going to say that's not going to lead to conversions.
Edib asked first, so he has 2 questions. First one is, how do you handle low signals in terms of clicks or conversions in niche sectors, which makes it really hard to experiment, A/B test, add ideas?
So one of the things I do see is, so people are really set on the ABM approach, list, upload. One of the things I would challenge you on is, the idea is that you're creating the ideal ICP, and then you're going out and, either purchasing or finding software that finds those accounts. Now, LinkedIn has like most of those criteria natively as filters. So what I would challenge you to do is to see what filters exist natively with LinkedIn, to see if you can create that ICP group with native LinkedIn filters, and if that expands the audience that you can target. I think there's a lot of companies that are way too dependent on list uploads, and they don't want to, and that's necessary on every other platform.
I think this is not so much ABM. I think basically what he's trying to ask is if I'm targeting like if I have a small target market, and so therefore it takes a long time to like get even some metrics because there's just not a lot of people who can engage with it, click on it, get converted. So given that it will take me a lot of time to even get signals, how do I make any educated adjustments, experiments based on that?
I guess a couple of things I would do, and I guess I was kind of going down the ABM approach because it's similar as far as like having a small target group. So no, you're fine. A couple of the other things that I guess I would do is I wouldn't wait. A lot of what I recommend, like, go straight forward and then build all this in retargeting. Like if you have a small group like that, or it's very niche and it's not as active on LinkedIn, it's almost like with that approach, you would never get into retargeting. So very similar to my recommendation for an ABM approach is I would saturate that group then in the cold layer. Just assume you're not going to make it to retargeting. And I would say, okay, these different elements that I want to put in front of them, let me just layer that on in the cold layer. So I might have multiple campaigns hitting the same group, different ad formats hitting the same group, all in that same layer. And I would go with probably more creatives. Because your audience is smaller, your frequency is going to be higher, which means the average number of ads that the active users do see is going to be a much higher number than like a typical ad campaign, which means you have a lot more opportunity to test more creatives. And I would say simple things like pick pain points, pick results, and then pick, have just like a variety of, okay, exact same pain point with 5 different images, or test the same image with, 5 different pain points, and really try to get more assets in front of that small group, knowing that your frequency and saturation should be a lot higher with that group. I would also challenge you to expand. I see way too many people just targeting, if your group is that small, treat it kind of like ABM. Don't just go after the end decision maker. Expand probably to seniority and job function, and deeper saturate those companies. Because if you can't, if the end decision maker isn't active, but you can saturate the operations and marketing department of director level and above in those companies, it expands who you can get in front of. And then if and when someone brings the bright idea of working with your company up, someone else in that room, having heard about you, can move that deal pretty quickly.
I would add one more point, which is that in the absence of data, you need more common sense. So, right, if you have a relatively small target market and it's really hard and you have high ACVs and it just takes you a long time to even get clicks or any kind of data, just think about, well, we're reaching our people who we know are our ideal customers. We can validate that. You can see that. And then we can put messages in front of them. And so if we put messages in front of them that are results that we've gotten for customers, that showcases our expertise and thought leadership in the areas that we work in, that differentiate us from competitors, like that's a good thing, right? And so if you believe in your product and you believe that you kind of understand your customers and their pain points and you've sold your product successfully, that's at least not bad, right? So, all right, last question here from Edip. Can you elaborate that topic about the 30, 60, 90 days again? Are you saying not to expect any leads in the first 90 days? And if not, what's the standard time to expect leads from ads?
So yeah, in that scenario where you don't have a robust marketing ecosystem or a lot of mature traffic and you're expecting LinkedIn to do the work, I guess I would kind of think of it in this term. So if you had $1,500 a month budget, in the first 30 days, the whole $1,500 would go to the cold layer. Actually, it might take you, more than a month to get enough interactions to get into retargeting. So your entire budget is going to be cold. In that first 30 days, yeah, I would set the expectation of 0 leads, because no B2, like one of the phrases I keep saying is B2B buyers aren't impulse shopping. Like almost no, like their first time they're ever seeing your product, first time they're ever visiting your website, the expectation that they would be confident to book a call is next to 0. So just write that off. You're investing in getting in front of your ICP, making them aware of who you are, and getting a first introduction touch to your website. Expectation should be 0. Now, of those people that interacted with your ad, visited your website or your company page, and you get a retargeting audience. And then in the next 30 days, when you launch a retargeting campaign and you get back in front of them with trust building ads, I do think there should be a reasonable expectation in that 30-day segment. So your second month and focused on retargeting them, I would probably shift the budget 1,000 on cold, maybe just 500 or maybe like 900 on cold, 600 on retargeting, just so you can have the $20 a day. But I do think there's a reasonable expectation that retargeting that group and saturating them for 30 days should yield a decent amount of high intent clicks, quality traffic to the website, and probably it wouldn't be unreasonable to expect maybe a demo or some lead gen or fill in that next one. Or if you get a handful, I think expect not to break even, not to have a positive ROI. And then in the next 30 days, because that builds momentum. And I think that's what you have to realize. It's not like, okay, we now have retargeting, it's working or it's not working. Like, the power of retargeting is two things. Like, as that retargeting audience grows, and as you continue to saturate them and as you continue to build out a couple of different layers, you will continue to get more leads and more conversions with the same amount of spend. It will build momentum. Because as that retargeting audience grows from 300 to 3,000, the opportunities you have to stay in front of active users, to build trust with them, to get them to see a different range of content, the expectation should be then that you start to progressively and consistently move towards a more positive ROI. And that path of how long that will take you to cross that line will be different for every company, but you should be able to see marked improvements and progressions in those different buckets to see if it's, if you could expect to achieve ROI in any kind of meaningful time, or if you don't feel like you're making progress at all.
Job titles and retargeting, or no?
Initially, when I set up an initial retargeting, I keep it broad. My initial goal for like smaller companies usually is to get into retargeting. And for that, I'm usually like, okay, 180-day website visit, 180-day company page. I'm not putting criteria on it. Now, to me, the power of retargeting is in frequency. So once I get into retargeting, I want to maintain the proper level of saturation. And the only two levers I have is audience size and daily budget. So as the audience grows, or if you have mature ecosystem and it grows really fast, then you have two things you have to do. You can either chop down the list so that you get better saturation with the same budget. And in my mind, one of the first things I would add isn't job titles, it would be seniority and function. That way it's a half step. So it keeps it broad, but still refines the traffic. And then I would look at company size, and then I would maybe look at switching from seniority and function to job title if I'm really trying to get it into more bite size. So I do think I preach the power of qualifying or using LinkedIn retargeting to qualify, but I would say first you get into retargeting, start broad, and then it's really about kind of audience management. As the audience grows, and if you don't want to up your budget, but you want to get the same amount of saturation, then you need to look for ways to continue to refine and chop that audience down. And yeah, job title or seniority and function could be a good way to do that.
And you said, I think, frequency of 5 to 9. Is that kind of what I remember?
Yeah, I think in the 5 to 9, the 30-day frequency of 5 to 9. But if we're talking about your main core retargeting campaign is a 90-day, then I think usually in the 15 to 20 range for a 90-day frequency. Because one thing I don't think most people realize is frequency isn't just like a cost per click. Like a static metric, it's a component of time. So there's a 30-day frequency, a 90-day frequency, a 7-day frequency. And so one of the things, if you're talking about trends, is I like to view what is my 30 and 90-day frequency. And then LinkedIn has that nice comparison thing now where you can say, okay, this is my last 30 days and compare it to the previous period. One thing I like to do is look at the 7-day frequency and compare it. Cause I don't just want to know what my 30 or 90-day frequency is. I want to know if the frequency is getting worse, like if the frequency is growing or diminishing, because that trend is important. Like my 90-day frequency might be perfect, but if I see that the audience is really growing fast and the frequency is diminishing really quickly, if I'm only looking at that static number, I might not take action until the next 90 days because it wouldn't catch up fast enough. So that would be something extra.
If I'm seeing a 90-day retargeting frequency of 3, you're like, no point in doing that. Like, you need to really ramp up budget or reduce your audience.
Yeah, to me, like, and that's 3 placements. That's no guarantee that they, like, one of those was meaningful. So yeah, I think, yeah, I would say that's almost, I would expect the cold layer to have a frequency of 3 or less. And then I would boil it down to my top 3 ads to pair it with that frequency. But in retargeting, yeah, I'm shooting for something, a 90-day of like 15 plus. Because to me, that's the proper level of saturation, or at least an acceptable level of saturation. And 3, yeah, it's not going to move the needle.
A real case scenario. So we got approached by a customer. This is a seed stage company. They're just about to launch their product, B2B software, I think roughly 100K solution. So pretty high, selling into enterprise. We're posting organically for the founder and CEO. We're getting pretty good traction on the organic stuff. And now he recently emailed me and said, hey, I want to start running some LinkedIn ads to find out what our CAC is. I struggle with that because, you're about to launch your product. So, right, like, how do you think about LinkedIn ads, not so much as a demand gen, sales, generate calls tool, but almost like a market research tool to find out who's my audience, who can I sell to, what's my CAC,
My initial thought is that LinkedIn is an expensive market research tool. But if you're making that investment and using it as such, then it has its benefits. I think like there's way too many small startups who use LinkedIn ads and they're like, oh, I'm industry agnostic and I serve basically any company size in any industry, and they unknowingly use LinkedIn ads as market research because they literally don't know who their ICP is yet. I think that. They should go into it with their eyes open, realize that they don't know exactly who their ICP is. And then they should view okay, in the first 30, 90 days, if I don't get anywhere near a good ROI, but I get more information on who I should focus on the next 90 days. If they approach that with their eyes open, I think that's fine. I think way too many people use it as market research and don't realize they're doing it that way. And that is an expensive way. So for your company, if they're, maybe I would approach it like that and be like, yes, we can definitely give you insights, but and we can. I don't like the idea of let's use LinkedIn ads to figure out the client acquisition cost. That feels off to me because in my experience, LinkedIn ads it works. It's probably the same with any channel. It works best if you already have a lot of this figured out. And it's really expensive if you don't. So if you don't know, what your client acquisition cost is, or what industry you do better with, or what company size you have more traction with, LinkedIn ads is going to be an expensive way to find that out. But yeah, after 90 days, if that deliverable of that insights that's going to help fuel the next 90 days is meaningful enough to them to say just ROI alone, yeah, we didn't hit it, but we got this, then okay, I could deal with that. But yeah, I don't necessarily like that idea because I feel like it's better to figure that out outside of that, or as an ecosystem. It shouldn't be on LinkedIn ads at one channel to figure out a company's client acquisition cost, because the client acquisition cost should be a blended cost across all their channels and ecosystem. And so even that question alone kind of makes me feel like it's from a rough foundation.
I appreciate your time. Thank you for going over time here. Edip said, thanks for the great session and answers. Looking forward to you guys' next talk. We'll see when the next one is. Thank you for your time, Justin.